Just about every great comic book story has a darkest hour moment, a point in the tale where all seems lost. The heroes are on their knees, the city's a smoldering ruin, and the villains are closing in for the kill. For Marvel, its darkest hour came in the winter of 1996, a company that had grown in stature throughout the 60s, 70s, and 80s thanks to the often stunning art and storytelling in such comics as Fantastic Four and The Amazing Spider-Man. Marvel's financial success had reached a peak by the early 90s, but then a series of bursting financial bubbles and questionable business deals saw Marvel's stock value collapse. Shares once worth $35.75 each in 1993 had sunk to $2.37 3 years later. Yet somehow, Marvel fought through all the corporate intrigue which dogged the company in late 1996 and for many long months afterwards, and emerged from the rubble a decade later as a monster film industry. In this video, we're going to show you 10 facts that you need to know about Marvel. We're OnlyBrands, the channel dedicated to bringing you awesome, regular content on the world's hottest brands. Let's do this. Number 1. Prosthetic jaw. What's there to do after you save the world? Grab a bite to eat, of course. Our heroes go out for shawarma after winning the Battle of New York in the Avengers, but Steve Rogers, aka Captain America, doesn't seem to be partaking. This is because Chris Evans had grown a beard for his next movie, Snowpiercer, and couldn't shave it for the last-minute scene. To keep him looking like our fresh-faced Cap, the actor wore a prosthetic jaw. Not only is he not eating, he's also half covering his face with a hand. The day after filming that scene, Robert Downey Jr. arrived before his co-star to an Entertainment Weekly roundtable interview. Downey quipped, "Where's Chris Evans? Getting his face replaced?" Number 2. Rhinos or horses? You likely recall the battle scene at the climax of Black Panther features many armored rhinos ridden by members of Wakanda's border tribe, including Daniel Kaluuya's W'Kabi. But contrary to what you may have assumed, these tough-skinned warriors aren't entirely composed of CGI. According to Associate Visual Effects Supervisor Todd Sheridan Perry's comments to VFX Voice, some of the war rhinos were actually played by Clydesdale horses, like the ones from famous holiday-themed beer commercial. Number 3. Trademarked zombies. After releasing Tale of the Zombie in 1973, Marvel trademarked the term zombie for use in their comic books. They held the trademark until 1996 when they realized the trademark was almost impossible to enforce. By the way, a lot of hard work and care goes into these videos, so if you could help us out and click the subscribe button, we would greatly appreciate it. Number 4. Ragdoll moment. One of the most memorable moments in the Avengers is when Hulk answers Loki's erudite taunts by slamming him like a ragdoll. They pulled it off with a rope, several stunt actors, and by not telling Hiddleston exactly when they'd tug the wire. The experience of being yanked out of frame was one I will not forget in a hurry, Hiddleston told Entertainment Weekly. Number 5. Samuel L. Jackson. The reimagined Nick Fury bears a striking resemblance to Samuel L. Jackson. Although Jackson is well known for playing Nick Fury in the Avengers movies, this incarnation of Fury predates the film by several years. It wasn't until Samuel himself saw his resemblance in the comic by chance that he contacted his lawyer and Marvel to secure his role in the movies. Number 6. Superhero Stan. Before the comic book superheroes became the latest juggernauts of American popular culture, before their heroic deeds dazzled and shined on the silver screen, they were restricted to the panels of pulp paper. While comic books have been around since the 1930s, most of the characters that we watch in theaters today had their start during the Silver Age of comics in the 60s, and no one person is credited with building the foundation of the superhero craze more than Stan Lee with his Marvel characters. First off, the Hulk. Lee recognized how people sympathized the most with the more imperfect characters. Going off of this, he looked toward other characters of similar vein, such as Frankenstein and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The Hulk made his first appearance in his own solo series, The Incredible Hulk, which was released in May 1962. Similar to Frankenstein, the early comics dealt with the Hulk stuck in a hostile world, surrounded by people assuming him to be a monster. In addition to this, there were also internal drama with the personalities of Bruce Banner and the Hulk at constant odds, resenting the other for what they are. Such themes of self-hatred and misunderstanding endeared the Hulk to general readers, giving the Avengers' second member a running start to the cultural success he now possesses. Next, the X-Men. Like the Avengers, the X-Men is another famous and popular squad of supers co-created together by Stan Lee and artist Jack Kirby. With great superheroes comes great backstories. and there are only so many backstories a writer can come up with. This was the conundrum that Stan Lee was facing. By the X-Men's first appearance on the 1st of September 1963, he had already used gamma rays, radioactive spider bites, and godhood as explanations for his hero's abilities. What else was there? Well, why does there have to be an explanation? That was Lee's intentions with the X-Men, a group of superheroes that were simply born the way they were, hence members often being called mutants. The original run in 1963 gave us the heroes Angel, Beast, Cyclops, Iceman, and Marvel Girl, as well as the villains Magneto and the Scarlet Witch. And then there's Iron Man. In the 60s, America and the entire span of the world was in the throes of the Cold War, the ideological battle of American capitalism and Russian communism. Lee conceived Iron Man to serve as a sort of manifestation of the former, the quintessential capitalist, whose powers came not from any traditional fantasy source, but a more realistic one: military industrialism. That too was another one of Lee's intentions, as in the late 60s, the youth of America had become extremely anti-war, on account of the questionable intentions of the country's involvement in the Vietnamese War. A character that represented war and whose early comic stories depicted battles with communists and Vietnam intervention was sure to upset the youth, Lee thought. However, despite the odds, Iron Man found an audience among those young readers. Part of that may have been the vulnerable elements of Iron Man, who showed his imperfections very early on in his tales, like his battles with alcoholism in such storylines as Demon in a Bottle. Finally, Spider-Man, perhaps Marvel's most popular character. Stan Lee co-created Spider-Man with artist Steve Ditko, who premiered the character in issue 15 of The Amazing Fantasy in August of 1962. The inspiration for Spider-Man came from a non-superhero comic book character known simply as the Spider, and the two shared some similarities. For instance, being vigilantes, both Spider-Man and the Spider were wanted not only by criminals and villains, but by law enforcement and faced backlash from certain sects of the public. Additionally, the Spider, through his perilous travels, had developed a sixth sense for incoming danger, which carried over directly to Spider-Man's Spidey senses. Number 7. Michael Spider-Man. Speaking of Spider-Man, in the early 1990s, Michael Jackson tried to buy Marvel Comics just so that he could play Spider-Man in his own produced movie. I knew Michael Jackson, and with the things he discussed with me, I felt he wanted to be Spider-Man. That was the character that interested him, said Stan Lee in an interview with MoviePhone. I think he'd have been good. I think he'd have been very good. But I must say that Tobey Maguire was wonderful. That was an especially juicy fact, right? I think that one definitely deserves a thumbs up. Number 8. Venom Con. Venom was conceived of by a Marvel Comics reader named Randy Schuler. Marvel purchased the idea for the massive sum of $220, after they sent Schuler a letter acknowledging Marvel's desire to acquire the idea from him. Number 9. Make him an offer. Mario Puzo, the author of The Godfather, asked Stan Lee if he could try to write a comic script. Lee agreed, but Puzo found it too difficult. Lee recounts in his autobiography that Puzo told him, "I could write a novel in the time it would take me to figure this damn thing out." He went on to write some of the best-selling novels of all time. Oh, and he also wrote the screenplay for the Superman movie. Number 10. Sex messages. Some readers noticed the word sex being hidden in the background of art on Ethan Van Sciver's new X-Men number 118, but only after an article in Wizard, the general audience took a closer look, and in fact, the secret message has been discovered 18 times. That's nearly one sex per page. We appreciate you sticking around, and we hope you enjoyed the video. But why stop now? Click these videos for more awesome content.